That should be the recording started now, Chair.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Marr Area Committee of the 16th of June 2026. Please note that this is a fully virtual meeting with all members and officers attending virtually. The public section of the meeting is being live streamed and will be recorded and published online for public viewing after the meeting. Can members activate their cameras where possible to enable you to join by video? Members are encouraged to use video for the entire meeting if your connection allows this, particularly when speaking on any item. Can all attendees please mute their microphones when not speaking? If members wish to speak on any point, please use the hands up function in the Teams meeting. Please do not come in during items unless I invite you to do so. If members lose connection or have any technical issues during the meeting, please alert the committee officer if possible. Depending on how time goes, I will have a brief comfort break, but of course, if any member wants one, please just let me know and we'll bring one in at an appropriate time. Kirsty, could you call Sudren, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Councillor Blackett.
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Brown.
Good morning, I'm here.
Councillor Chowdhury. And I can see she's not in the meeting. Councillor Darno.
Yes, I'm here.
Councillor Goodall.
Present.
Councillor Clopart.
Here.
Councillor Knight. And
Councillor Knight sends her apologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Petrie.
Yeah.
Councillor Ross.
I'm here, thank you.
And Councillor Withy.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kirsty. We now move on to declarations of interest. If anyone has an interest to declare, please could you raise your hand to indicate that you wish to intimate an interest. And when I bring you in, please confirm the item number, the nature of the declaration, and whether you will leave the meeting or remain. And I don't see any hands up. So we can now move on to item 2A, which is the public sector equality duty. And could we please agree our duties under the Equality Act, and I will take silence as agreement. Yeah, that's fine. And we have 3 exempt items this morning, and I ask committee whether we agree to take items 10, 11 and 12 in private, and again I will take silence as agreement. So I think everybody's agreed that. So we now move on to the minute of the meeting of the Marr Area Committee on the 26th of May 2026. Do committee agree that the minute is a true and correct record of the meeting? And I don't see anybody disagreeing, so that's great. So we now move on to item 4, which is the statement of outstanding business, and I'll hand over to Tim.
I shall be very brief, Chair. There's 2 items on the agenda, the second of which is due to come after recess. The first is a long-standing item that I wasn't going to say anything because it would just be a repeat of what I said at the last meeting, other than just to reiterate my apologies to committee for the length of time this is taking.
Thank you. Thank you. Do committee have any questions for Tim? And I'll take silence as no, that's fine. So we now should be moving on to item 5, which is Education and Children's Services year-end performance monitoring, but I'm not sure if we have Alan Ray here, so perhaps we move to item 7. Tim, did you want to come in?
It was just to sort of formally let the committee know that Mr. Ray is currently in the Banff and Buchan Committee presenting the same report. Unfortunately, due to timings, we're expecting there not to be an issue, but he's simply been held up there. So he'll be with us as soon as we can. And yes, Chair, that the suggestion would perhaps be to take the business services report with Mr. Simpson, who's now here, as an option, just to give Mr. Ray a bit of time to finish at the other committee. Thank you, Chair.
That's great, and thank you very much, Rob, for being so flexible. We really appreciate it. So if I could bring you in, please, and ask committee to acknowledge, consider and comment on progress made in relation to business services performance indicators, please.
Thank you. Good morning, committee. Yes, so you've got business services performance report in front of you today. There's 15 indicators contained within the report. Broadly, 7 indicators on target, so showing as green. There's 1 just off target, so showing as amber, and there's 7 that are demand-led measures within the report, so data-only measures that are in front of you today. Majority of indicators are on track with no failures or systemic issues showing through. Key areas to highlight, I think customer services continues to perform well. Call wait times are still within the 5-minute target, so we've seen that over a number of quarters now, and we know that was due to movement of staffing and various other things that have come through to improve performance there. Call abandonment rate is still below target as well, so again that is a good news story. We have seen an increase in number of calls coming through, so I think both those staying within the areas that we are seeing, so within that 5-minute target, and abandonments remaining low, I think is a good measure of success. In terms of benefits processing, we are seeing claims being processed within targets. So again, sustained good performance showing across that team. That is despite an increase in workloads. We've seen a fairly fast migration onto universal credit over the last 6 to 12 months, which was relatively unexpected, but has been coped with well across the team. So a lot of work that's gone in there to deal with that increasing workload that's come through because of that. And property conditions, we're seeing across Aberdeenshire, 94% of operational buildings are in satisfactory condition. So that continues to perform above the Scottish average. I think Marr is slightly below that position, but we are working through that disposal pipeline around a number of our assets. So we know that suitability of our assets, a lot of that is down to pavilions and depots, toilet provisions, those types of things. So we are seeing those types of areas, and we continue to look at, do we improve the condition of our assets, or do we release some of those assets? So we continue to work through that process across the whole of the asset portfolio. There's no major issues arising from the report. There's nothing that I really want to draw your attention to, as I say, in terms of systemic issues or anything like that. I think it is a relatively strong performance report that shows quite good performance across business services, but I'm happy to take any questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Do members have any questions on the progress made in relation to the performance indicators? I don't see any hands up. Oh yes, Councillor Goodall.
Thank you, Chair. I just thought I'd make a comment since nobody else was going to. Oh, Anouk's got her hand up now. Good. No, thank you for the report, Rob. Very interesting. And I look forward to the changes that we're looking from business services and the disposal of properties that we do no longer need in order to get our finances under control. But thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cloppert.
Yes, good morning. Just wanted to figure out on page 48. I understand that living well, economically. You were speaking, Rob, about the universal credit demanding help and assistance, but it says here also for the crisis grant applications. they have actually increased. So can you perhaps comment on if this is potentially to do with the heating oil crisis that actually has been in place since earlier in the year? I don't know if you know anything about that particular aspect.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Chair. Yes, it is cost of living issues generally that we are seeing coming through crisis grant applications. So a number of those grant applications will be for heating issues. We are seeing a significant rise in that. Some of it is just cost of food, cost of living, and those types of issues that come through there as well. So we have seen that number go up. Crisis grants are funded through Scottish Government funding that comes to us, but we are seeing certainly a rise in applications, so a rise in processing requirements around that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Ross.
Thank you. Good morning, Rob, and thank you for the report. I've got a couple of questions, please. First of all, page 47, a sustainable economy. It says at an Aberdeenshire level, as at the 1st of April 26, Aberdeenshire's portfolio extended to 550 operational assets, with 475, 83.9%, assessed as suitable for current use. Within Marr, there are 122 operational assets, a decrease of 3 since 24, 101, 82.79 of which are assessed as suitable for current use. This is below the Aberdeenshire average and below the Scottish average. What are we doing regarding those properties that are not assessed as suitable for current use? Are we disposing of them, or are some of them being brought up to standard? And if so, at what cost? That's my first question. Then I've got another one. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Yes, so there'll be a mixture. So some will be investment, some will be disposal. So there's a mixture within those properties as to what we will seek to do with them to bring them up to suitability. Suitability could be down to it's not a particularly accessible building. It could be disabled access, things like that, that we need to look at for the building. So we then look at prioritising that across our wider portfolio to see where we put what is a relatively finite pot of money in the first instance. So it may be that they're on a plan to be upgraded over a period of time, but that doesn't mean that they will be done within the next few months, because we have to look across the whole of the Shire with that pot. Thanks.
Thank you. And that is interesting. My second question is regarding customer services. And I'm pleased to see that the number of people that are abandoning their calls has decreased recently. However, that has led me on, and it's under the remit of customer services. I've had complaints from constituents who say that they have, and it's email, so it's communication. So I like to envelop it under this banner of customer services. I have had several recent complaints from constituents who've said that they've emailed in and they do not receive a response. What is the response rate for that and the timeline? Maybe that's something you could go, if you don't have the answers, you could go away and look at for me, for Aberdeenshire wide and for Marr, as to how many emails do not receive a response and how many do, and the timeline. I think it's 20 days that the council has to respond, but how quickly the response is given. Is it within the 20 days? How many are over the 20 days? And how many sort of slip through the net and don't get a response at all? Thank you.
We endeavour to respond to all emails that come in centrally. Now, we won't necessarily hold area data for all of those, because it depends on what their query is, whether they'll give us their address, for example. They may not, depend on what they're asking us, so it's difficult to categorise some of that. The issue we have with broader emails is that a lot of emails go directly to services, a lot of emails go directly to officers, so we don't have a handle on how many of those are necessarily picked up unless they are then logged through the internal central system, which we know a lot are not. So we're looking at that at the moment. but it's really difficult to pull out the data as to exactly what the position is. But centrally, if they're coming in to the feedback team, for example, we do log all of those and make sure that they all are responded to, and responded to as quickly as can be, certainly within the period of time that we state we will. Now, if it's a more difficult issue that we're dealing with, we should be going back saying it'll take a little bit longer and explaining that. So we've got data around some of that, but as I say, the whole picture is not particularly clear at the moment because we get it across the whole of the council. People email to individuals, to certain services, and we're looking to ensure that we centralise that so we've got that absolute handle on what's happening.
Thank you. That's interesting, and it's the central email that I refer people to, and it's regarding that I'm getting the responses. Well, I have contacted that. I think you're right that perhaps there needs to be one central access point for customers to email, and that will avoid confusion with, with individuals being emailed or whatever. That's particularly relevant to, I would say, and it's not your remit, it comes, Mr. Mackay and Mr. Wood, it comes under infrastructure, but, constituents email Marr Roads, they email K&M Roads. I've had a recent response from them, 2 different responses from those 2 emails, or a constituent did, which I saw giving different advice. And I went back and I said, well, which one's right? So I think we
Councillor Ross,
need
can we
clarity.
stick to business? Can we stick to business services? Sorry.
I'm just explaining, Chair, that we
I
need
know,
clarity
okay.
to avoid confusion, because that's where constituents are getting frustrated. Thank you.
Did you want to come back, Rob?
No, I think I've covered it. We are working on that, so we know that there are issues and concerns around that, so it is something that we are looking at and working on in the background.
Thank you. Councillor Clopper, did you want to come back?
Yes, please. Just a second question that I've written down, but because it was over the page, I couldn't quite find it. I just wondered, Rob, if there is also some information or extra background available. It says here that on page 47, there are 122 operational assets, but a decrease of 3. Those operational assets, I mean, just maybe, sorry for the ignorance perhaps, but are these also including of council housing? That's because it says here that the actual operational use is actually slightly less than before.
Yeah, through you, Chair. No, it doesn't include council housing. That's calculated separately.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Withy.
Thanks, Chair. It's just really following on from Councillor Ross's comments. It talked about, constituents getting frustrated on the comms side with responses, the times, and that that it's taking and things. I would extend that to the frustrations from councillors as well. I think you've got to remember that, generally speaking, when a constituent comes to a councillor, it's because they either haven't got a reply from the service that they've emailed in the first place, or they're not satisfied with the response they got. So they're waiting 20 days to get a reply from the central email. Because councillors are not getting replies quickly either, they're then waiting up to 20 days to get another reply from a councillor. And if we go back, there's another 20 days. You're talking 60, 80 days at a time to get relatively simple things resolved. So I just wanted to add that in. It's not just the constituents that are experiencing frustrations when it comes to the length of time it's taking to get responses. I think councillors as well, because quite often I'm finding that stuff's put out in public before I've even had a response to an email that I sent 20, 25 days ago. So it was just to add that in, that I think for us, it's equally, well, for me certainly, it's equally as frustration as it is for constituents, the time it's taken some of the times.
Thanks to you, Chair. I appreciate that there can be concerns around that. In terms of the business services element, I think what we see in front of us is relatively good performance in how we deal with complaints and concerns coming through. I think as councillors, you all have access, certainly to us as directors and to the Chief Executive, where you have concerns about specific areas and specific communications, or it's not timely enough, then please raise that. Certainly if that's within my directorate, I would want that raised with myself so I could look at that. Sometimes it's down to complexity of issue, and sometimes it's down to other matters around it, but we should be able to explain that to you and have that discussion with you. But certainly my door is always open for those discussions, as I'm sure my colleague directors would say the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. I think that's very reassuring, and certainly if I haven't had a satisfactory answer, I've always found the directors very ready to find out the answers that I want. So thank you. I see no other hands up. So are we happy to instruct Mr. Simpson as Director of Business Services to continue to present his performance reports to us on a 6-monthly basis? And I think you can take that as read, Rob. Thank you very much. And we'll see you again in 6 months here.
Thank you.
So we can now go to item 5. And Alan Ray has managed to escape from Banff and Buchan, or Buchan, whichever it is, and come to us. Good morning, Alan. And we are being asked to acknowledge and consider progress made during 25-26 towards achieving the council plan priorities referred to in Appendix 1, and I'll hand over to Alan.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies. Thank you for accommodating me, and good morning, committee. So I am here to represent the ECS Directorate, and I will go through the reports and present that to you. I also have a bit of an update as well from the early years team, which I will add on at the end as well to hopefully add some context. So thank you. The report itself is the year-end performance review of the ECS performance in Marr. So that's aligned to the Council Plan 24-29 priorities. The report has not been considered by this or any other committee this year. However, the ECS performance update did go to the ECS Policy Committee along with the Head of Service Business Plan updates for 24-25, and that went to the committee on the 21st of May 26. Overall, the position in Marr is very positive, with 70% of measures meeting or exceeding target, with a small number identified of just off target. The report highlights the strong outcomes for children and young people, including attainment in literacy and numeracy above the Aberdeenshire average, very strong performance in foundation apprenticeships, well above target, and the highest rate of positive post-school destinations reported across all committee areas. There are positive trends, including sustained attendance levels and increased volunteering and community engagement within the LLA service as well, in particular libraries and active schools. Members will also note that there are a couple of areas requiring further attention. So the uptake of early learning and childcare eligible for 2-year-olds, including those accessing their full entitlement, which I will update in a second, and the slight reduced participation within the LLA services compared to previous years. Now that attendance, I would say in this report, doesn't include hires data as we merged the two ECS and LLA teams together. That's been resolved for this year, so that explains some of that slight anomaly. Also contributing to some of the attendance decline was the adverse weather that we experienced in January, and similarly we had a disruption at Bankery Sports Village for the gym refurbishment. Memberships have average memberships have been largely steady, a slight decline which have now recovered, again linked to the reasons that I've just mentioned around attendance. But I am pleased to report back in terms of the LLA paid memberships. Bankery Sports Village is now over 1,000 members for the first time following that refurbishment, and Aboyne is currently sitting at nearly 500 members as well. So between those two venues and the others within the area as well, paid membership is performing strongly. In terms of the early years team, so the lower population of children in Marr accessing more than 900 hours of funded ELC reflects a combination of family choice and current capacity in some parts of the area. Whilst all eligible families are offered their full 1,140 hours. Some families do not take up that full entitlement. In addition, availability varies across Marr, particularly parts of Afford and Huntly clusters, which can affect children's ability to access the To Nurture provision locally. This is alongside the wider reduction in number of children of the relevant age group in Marr, which fell from 310 in 23-24 to 258 in 25-26. Recent DWP data also suggests that 71 families in Marr may be eligible for the funded 2-year provision, and work is ongoing to support the take-up where that capacity is available. At present, 19 children have been placed across Marr. 9 children are waiting for places, including 4 in the Inch area where there is no local capacity for 2-year-olds, and 5 in Huntly where work is ongoing to secure places. So officers are reporting that there is work going on with the Care Inspectorate to increase the number of register settings, including Inch and Afford, and 3 further applications are currently being processed. So work ongoing to try and resolve that picture. Chair, that's the report, and I'm welcome to take any questions, and I will do my very best to answer them for you.
Thank you. Just before I let anybody else in, can you tell me why a Boyne Academy dropped from 100% of successful destinations and everybody else increased?
I don't have that specific detail, Chair, but I can certainly find out for you.
Yeah, could you? Thank you. I'll hand over to Councillor Petrie.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Alan. Apologies. My washing machine has just chosen just now to go very noisy. So if you hear anything, hopefully you don't. It's that in the background. A couple of areas. First of all, on the 1140 stuff, which you may not be able to respond to today, but might be useful to get feedback from the ECS team. I do wonder, first of all, if some of the inability to take up spaces is because we've reduced flexibility in how we deliver that. And I know that we've looked at how we reduce, the Royal We wouldn't be my preference, but I think the council has looked at reducing services rather than looking at enhanced flexibility. And I wonder if there's any way of measuring if that's why people are reluctant to use it, because they're trying to fit it around work and we're not necessarily providing that flexibility. Something that we can hopefully expand on as the increase in free childcare comes into force over the next few years. And the second bit around that is what you said on 2-year-olds provision. I've got a group in my ward who want to provide 1140 hours for 2-year-olds, because a lot of the parents of 2-year-olds are saying they don't want to use the council facility because it's too busy and it's too much for their little ones. My group have been essentially banging their head off a brick wall. So I just wonder, what level of support do we provide, or can we go into groups like that and provide that more supportive approach to trying to get them into a position where they can provide that on our behalf for those 2-year-olds, because I think they're slightly frustrated at how difficult it has been. And I know some of that's about Care Commission, and I've had conversations with them separately as well in terms of what they ask. But I think the more childcare we can ensure is in Aberdeenshire, the better for everyone involved. But I appreciate that might be something you need to come back to us on. My second question is around the LLA membership. So it's good to see them increasing in some places. And again, I think they did take a bit of a hit when we reduced the opening hours in some places, and there were some grumblings. Now, I remember at the time, the discussion was that our teams in different areas were going to have the flexibility to increase opening and to change the provision where they could show that there was a need for that. And I just wonder, I think actually locally in Huntly that has been done, and to great success. And I just wonder if that's something you can comment on in terms of whether that's working across the piece, because I think it's back to place. It's one of my favourite topics. You know, if an area needs something, are we allowing that to grow and enhance so that the members are getting what they want if they take out a membership?
Thank you, Councillor Petrie. Yeah, so in terms of the early years, I have taken notes, and I will come back to you on that if that's okay. And I'm conscious that in the update there was work with the Care Inspectorate on a couple of live applications, and I don't know if that refers to some of the instances that you might be talking about, but I will go and seek that clarity. In terms of the LLA, yes, the managers do have flexibility. So the way that we're structured, we have team managers responsible for the LLA facilities. We don't quite call it north and south, but essentially that's how they do work. And then the community leisure officers feed into the team managers. So if there's a business case for them or a demand to open up slightly differently, and we can demonstrate that the demand is there, then the answer will be yes every time. And I think what we've been able to do generally over the services is show that we can offer more for less or the same. And that's in part because we're getting a lot of good buy-in from elected members, but also importantly from the public who are using our facilities and taking out their memberships more as well. And we want to continue that improvement on the customer-facing parts of the service. That will naturally drive demand, and we're seeing that in different areas of Aberdeenshire too. So you're right in terms of Huntly, that has increased, but we've also seen differences in where we've tried different opening hours. For example, in Afford, we've also tried different opening hours in Bankery and in Aboyne as well, and other places too. So if I use, for example, in Banff, where I've just come out of the Devon Centre, the CLO there will look and look at demand, and where we've made an improvement, there's that ask to open slightly earlier. We're trialling somewhere in Turriff, for example. So we do this all over the place. So to give you some assurances that flexibility exists. But similarly, if we know that there's a really quiet time, then that works the other way around. And actually, if there's not much usage on a Friday night, then maybe we don't need to open till 10, or maybe we'd open till 8, that sort of thing too. But the venue user groups keep engaged, on that front. And I think for the last couple of years, that's been working quite well.
Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, thank you.
That's great. Councillor Goodall.
Thank you, Chair. My questions centre basically around what Gwyneth just said, so I'm trying to work through my questions and score out the ones you've answered. Basically, other than your answer was very good in the question that Gwyneth gave you, but the availability in Huntly Afford seems to be low. Availability of places for the 1140. Is there anything we can do to increase availability to make it more accessible to parents? Because it is a drive. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of parents who want to use the service, but they find they can't because of the availability. My second question is in LLA. I'll keep it simple. Membership's down, but the use is up. So there is a demand. So what can we do to sell more memberships? That's me.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Goodall. As I say, I might have to come back to you on the ELC, because I don't know in terms of the update how much of that work is actually in progress, and how much of it is again wrapped around some of the suggestions around commuting times and empowerment of the community, and how that links into work with the Care Inspectorate. That's not my area of expertise, but I'll certainly go back and ask the question to give you that full answer. In terms of the LLA sites, I don't think there's two things in terms of membership. When we look at average memberships across the service, it's libraries and and the LLA facilities, the leisure centres. The two memberships aren't the same. So in libraries, we classify an active member as somebody who's used the service in a recorded way, taken out a book, for example, over the last year. Within the LLA, it's about who pays for it every month, and that's your paid users. So attendances have been really good. From a leisure centre side, that is translating into paid membership. We are seeing an increase in that respect, and I think we will continue that trend as well. There's elements of programming which will encourage that, and there's also specific sales processes which we will start to introduce. So at the moment, for example, we are introducing our new leisure management system, the Gladstone system, which is a procured service, which is now being built, and that should be live by about January time. That's important because it has some extra functionality for us, and it will help us communicate with members. So your sort of trigger emails or your onboarding to help new members engage with the service, that sort of thing, we should be able to do a little bit better, and the booking process will be a little bit slicker, that sort of thing too. But from a library's perspective as well, what we're finding as well, more young people are using the library services too. So we're doing more book bugs than ever before, but the young people don't necessarily turn into library members. They just they use the service, and I think some of that is around, we've got that captive audience. So how can we just advertise the use of the service and get that conversion going? And we're finding that when we're having co-located services, attendance is up, but not necessarily that conversion into library members. So in terms of paid members, I think we're doing the right things, and there's a little bit more there. In terms of libraries, I think we've got a bit of a captive audience, and that's maybe a bit of a cultural shift that we will get with the team to get that takeout and library cards. I think they're positive challenges.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Goodall?
Yes, and I look
It
forward
does.
to the answers on ECS from
Thank you.
regarding the 1140 places, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan, if I could just pick up on the memberships of the gyms and stuff. Certainly, I think out here in Ward 15, one of the issues is public transport. And, you know, to get to a Boyne, it's seriously expensive and very unreliable. You only have to have been at the bus forum the other day in Bankery to know the number of complaints about buses not turning up. So I think that will reflect on, you know, if you live in Tarland, how do you get to a Boyne? Same everywhere. So I think that's just something to think about. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ray, for presenting the report. And you know, there's obviously lots of good news stories in there, and you know, thanks to all teachers and support staff and the young people themselves for working. I know it's a very busy time of year in the academic year, as just come through the periods of exams as well. But you mentioned foundation apprenticeships, and the report tells us on page 21 that there's an ongoing increase. Obviously, we know through Education and Children's Services reports there last month that we're only funded for 590 places, but we're seeing an increase in demand, I think over 1,300 across the piece, and the additional external funding has not materialised. There's not enough money coming to support this, and we need to give our young people such a range of options to prepare them, you know, for all sorts of skills and opportunities in life. So, you know, it's obviously very concerning that that's not being supported nationally. But I just want to talk about if we are in a position where we're going down to our reduced spaces because we can't fund the extra demand, how we can ensure, or how that will be supported in Marr, you know, to ensure that sort of there's an allocation for our schools in Marr as well, that the young people do have the opportunity to participate if we go down to bare bones funding. I appreciate you won't know the answer for that, but what is the plan if we have to scale back to that minimal place for the allocation across the Marr schools?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Brown. In terms of what would happen if we have to scale down, I don't know the answer to that. But again, it's something that I would seek to find out. But another hat that I wear is I'm doing my stint on SLT, and certainly I know Lawrence, Director of Education Children's Services, has put forward a paper around topping up the funding, so that because the demands of apprenticeships is definitely there. So it's not in our desire, it's not our recommendations to reduce that. There's an appetite for that to be topped up through the budget allocation, which is there. How that plays through and what governance is associated in getting that through, I think that's in play just now. But I know that appetite is certainly one that's shared, and that increase of demand wants to be met.
Thank you. Councillor Brown's looking satisfied with that. Councillor Withy.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, it was actually on the early years and childcare. I mean, my views on childcare provision are well known. I've sat with toddler next to me at the moment due to lack of childcare, and so apologies if you hear any noises. Her laptop's a lot more fun than mine. It makes lots of funny noises. I did have a few questions that I wanted to ask and comments I wanted to make, but much has already been covered. And the only thing I was going to add is some of the work I'm doing at the moment with regards to childminding. We do seem to have a lot of childminders leaving the profession and a lot less coming into it, which is a far cry from when I was younger, where I think there was about 4 or 5 childminders on my street alone, including my mum. So I think that's something we need to look at, because when it comes to access, availability, number of spaces, I think the more childminders we can encourage into the profession, the easier that problem is to solve. It's obviously about nurseries, but also about childminders as well. My point was going to be, as I say, I had a few questions and a few comments to make, some of which have been covered. Is it possible that all the information you're taking away, Alan, to come back to individuals could be perhaps put together in a briefing that comes to all of us, because I think most of us have similar comments and questions, so it'd be worth us all getting a proper briefing, even by email, just to try and cover some of the answers off on that, if that's okay.
Councillor Witty, yeah, absolutely. That would be my intention to do that. I think all the feedback that I'll be coming back with is around the early years, so predominantly. So yeah, absolutely, no problem.
I think that would be a good idea, and certainly on the subject of childminders, I've tried before to work with Julia to see what we can do to encourage more people, and because it's a lovely business for somebody who's got their own children and wants to look after others, but nobody seems to want to take it up. And I think we're all suffering from that, particularly in rural areas where the economy is suffering because people can't get people to look after their children while they have to go to work. Councillor Withy, did you want to come back briefly?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, it's, as I say, I know first-hand experience of trying to work with you can't get childcare. The childminders here, we've got some fantastic ones locally, but they're all full, some of them booked up for years now. So completely agree with you. I do have some ideas I've been working on in the background that maybe it's worth a chat with you at some point, Chair, to see what you think of them, as to what we can do as a council, because I'm aware a lot of it needs to come from higher up, but there may be some things that I've got ideas around that we possibly could do. So happy to chat with you about that.
My door is always open. Alan, I think we've done all our questioning and our commenting, so thank you very much. And I think we'll all agree that we're content to instruct the Director of Education and Children's Services to continue to present performance reports to the Area Committee on a 6-monthly basis. So thank you very much for coming this morning, and we'll see you again in 6 months' time.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Committee.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Right, we now move on to item 8, because item 6 has been withdrawn because the officer can't be here today. So I'm just trying to work through my papers. And sorry, I'm turning over sheaves of papers here. So this is the Landscape Services Works Programme for 26-27. And we're being asked to approve the proposals for allocating revenue budget as detailed in Appendix 1 for landscape services and bereavement services. And I think we've got Ailsa here. I can see you, Ailsa. Hello,
Morning.
Nice to see you.
And
And Ewan and Sophie. Who's going to lead? Are you, Ailsa?
I'll introduce you. Thank you, Chair. So, good morning, members and Chair. I'm pleased to be here this morning to seek approval for Landscape Services Work Programme for the 26-27 budget for the Marr area. Following the budget setting at full council on 27th of February, landscape teams have developed the proposals outlined in Appendix 1. Whilst available resources for 26-27 provide a more challenging environment for delivery of some maintenance activities than in previous years, the service is continuing to consider opportunities to assist and a predominant move through budget savings mitigation to work with local community groups in the delivery of some works, where those groups have the capacity to do so, and as a service we continue to work within our resource we have. The report sets out a range of works and activities for the coming year, many of which will reflect ongoing engagement with local members, communities and other stakeholders. The plan provides a balance between the needs of users who have a variety of interests in their local parks or open space, including the enhancement and improvement of areas for biodiversity and the opportunities that exist to protect and maximise the public pound. As members will know, Aberdeenshire Council Pollinator Action Plan aims for at least 10% of public green space to be enhanced and managed for pollinators, and work is ongoing through our green space officers to not only confidently demonstrate that the target has been reached, but to advise members when the calculations have been achieved, that a likelihood exists in achieving more than 10%. In addition to the Council Works Programme, the Council has been allocated funding from Scottish Government for the renewal and improvements of play equipment and play parks. That's my introduction concluded, Chair, and we're able to take any questions now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ailsa. Councillor Ross.
Thank you. Good morning, Ailsa and Sophie.
Good morning.
How are you all? Right, you won't be surprised with what I'm going to say or what I'm going to bring up, because it's been a long-standing issue in Banchory, and I'm delighted to see that on page 67, Banchory Play Park Through Road repairs, 17,200. I take it that is the part going between King George, the road, sorry, going between King George V and Belfield. What sort of repairs are we talking about? Because up till now, when the potholes and everything are repaired, they're filled in and they're very quickly become potholes again. The residents that live along that road, plus the users of both parks, are forever complaining about it, and it's something that I'm forever bringing up with yourselves. So, as I'm sure other councillors are. So I wondered, that's my first question. I wondered exactly what is involved for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So we did some temporary repairs to it a couple of weeks ago before there was events starting in the area, but we are looking to have a substantial repair done to it, so it's not something that keeps coming back again. I have got some prices from the roads department, so hopefully that is something that we can do.
Thank you. Could I come back? Is that tarmacking it or putting down hardcore? What exactly are we looking at doing with it, please?
We're still looking at options, so we're getting prices for various different options to see what is viable.
Thank you. And is the council paying for all of that, or will residents who live along there have to contribute to that as well?
That is something that I would need to look into, and I can get back to you on that, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. My next question is regarding this. You were talking about working with other groups, and again, it's something that I've brought up with yourselves time and again. I welcome the council working with partners and other groups. They can often access funds that we can't access, and we complement each other. And I know there's a lot of work going on with Play for All Banchory at the moment, but we have other groups that we're working with who are going to be doing more work in Banchory and have done work in Belfield. And I'm thinking in particular, and I've raised this, about the landscaping around the skate park. I mean, the skate park is a fantastic resource. I think it's great. When we're working with these groups, how do we assess their capacity for longevity? Because they take these projects on, and then sometimes I feel the maintenance, it's their responsibility to maintain it, and I question whether they're all volunteers, whether they have the resources for maintenance long term for the projects that they're taking on.
I think it's mostly trial and error. Obviously, we want to work with community groups, and we want to work with people that want to work with us. But until they take it on, we don't really know their capacity. Some people could be working well, and things like that. There are some contracts with estates and things like that, but usually we have to give them a chance to see how it goes.
Thank you. Maybe, Chair, that is something that we need to look at in the round as to, I understand working with estates or whatever, but I'm talking about voluntary groups, and I'm not wanting to stop working with voluntary groups, but maybe we need to, that's something that we need to assess.
Perhaps this is something for a more informal setting, because this is actually a budget report.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just going to hand over to Tim.
Thank you, Chair. I think you've just covered it, Chair. I am conscious that there's an area between a budget report and members wanting to understand what specifically will be done with the funds. But if I could just sort of remind members in advance of any questions that this is fundamentally about a budget report. as the chair has said, if there are specific questions about a level of detail on individual repairs, I would probably suggest, if at all possible, that they come to officers outside of the meeting. Thank you, Chair. And as I said, I do appreciate there is a grey area where some members may wish to ask for an understanding to help them understand the context of the budget. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Durno.
Anne stole my thunder. I just wanted confirmation that the through road was the road that we were speaking about between the two parks, and it has been. And given what was just been said about individual spending in places, I'll just leave it just now. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Durno. Councillor Brown.
Yeah, morning. Thank you. I was just going to thank officers because there's been a lot of work going on to support community projects recently, and I think that's really welcome. Obviously, with Ballot as a particular example of great collaboration and a fantastic outcome. So I'm sure we're looking forward to seeing that open very, very shortly. I was just going to ask actually on the Ballot, and this is about a specific line, so that may cover what you've just advice you've just given. I was just going to ask on page 67 about the 7k allocation, given that there obviously is an element of an installation of new equipment, if that was just maintenance of the old equipment for the next year. That was my question around that. And Sophie will be familiar with ongoing inquiries around the drainage issues at Defence, and is that for further work, Sophie? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I have the £7,000 for the balloter. That's for the repair and maintenance of existing equipment. Obviously, any new equipment is included in that. That is unchanged. And the investigations to the drainage issues in Torfins, that is for further works.
Oh, brilliant. The community will be very appreciative of those. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Goodall.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the report, the financial report. It's very interesting. I prefer just a comment and one question. I do like the work you're doing in the cemeteries. I love the wildflower areas that you're doing and the play areas that are being repaired. That's fantastic. And also Horton Park, you're doing a lot of work there, which is very appreciated by local people. It's a beautiful park, and any enhancements there are welcome. One wee question on it though. You've got a dipping platform. Is that to allow people to go for a swim in that tiny wee pond? I'm being a bit facetious here. And one question, is there anything here? I couldn't find anything. Is there anything about tennis courts in Alford and Huntley? There was some work due to be done on that, but I can't see anything referred in this report. Thank you.
Thank you. The dipping platforms is for pond dipping that's done in conjunction with the rangers. So we do have platforms there at the moment, but they are old, and we are hoping to replace the platforms that are currently there. The tennis courts, as far as I'm aware, are maintained and managed by LLA. I might be wrong, so that's why it doesn't show on this report.
I don't see. Do you want to come back, Councillor Goodall?
No, I'm fine. I thought it might be LLA, but sometimes I feel it's a bit trying to nail down exactly who looks after them and maintains them is quite difficult. So that's an interesting conversation. And I'm just, yes, I shall seek my answers elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cloppett.
Yes, again, thank you, Sophie, for for all the information already provided, especially with regards to Defence as well. It was very interesting to see that money allocated for the repairs. I just wanted to kind of congratulate on the Gold Award, actually, that Landscape Services have actually won recently at the APSI evening for actually the digitalization program that you've had introduced in the service. So congratulations with that anyway. I just wanted to know if that particular program, the digitalization, will actually help in this front, in this as well. all the, the budgets that has been allocated to all the different operations here. So I just wanted to comment on that.
The digitalisation is helping get more contact with the frontline teams, for them to get their work out easily, to be able to get in touch quite quickly, to be able to see all the information that is coming to the office-based staff really easily, and it's greatly improved getting information out to all the teams.
Well, I don't see any other hands up, so thank you very much for coming and explaining all that. I'm sure that we all agree to approve the proposals for allocating revenue budget. I don't see anybody saying no, so that's great. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Thanks very much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Right,
Thank you,
I've been asked for a comfort break. Do we want 5 minutes, 10 minutes? How much does everybody want?
10 minutes, please.
10
no.
10 minutes. Okay, so we'll come back at 11:05. Kirsty, can you stop the recording, please?